Friday of February. So next time I see you, it'll be March.
Yep.
Let's hope this March is better than last.
Oh, that's what I'm like, in March.
Yeah.
March, yeah.
So get comfortable. We're here on Friday the 26th, right? And thank you for Yoga Flow. So if anybody's out there having any trouble, let me know. Maybe if you're out there, let me know you can hear. But we're getting ready to start. Everything looks fine. So sit up nice and tall and get a way to sit where you're comfortable. So grab blankets if you need to. Actually, I'm going to sit on a blanket today. It sounds great. So if you feel just a little bit of need for support, add it wherever you need it. You can always stretch your legs out long if you'd rather. You know that. Close your eyes and take your time to really feel that length up through your spine. So feel your sitting bones really grounding and then lengthen up through the top of your head. And find a place for your chin where you don't feel tense in your neck, right? So just the slightest little lifting up can tense up your neck a little bit. See if you can get that chin more parallel to the floor. And then just watch your breath coming in and going out through your nose. So feeling the breath coming into your belly, so you feel your belly expand as you inhale. Come in towards those 3-part breaths. Not forcing it, but just if it feels comfortable to inhale into your belly, into your ribs, and then higher up into the chest. And let your next exhale bring your chin down towards your chest. Release your head forward. Enjoy if you need to turn your head a little bit once you get it forward because you find some little tight places there that you need to work through. Do. And then come back into center. We're going to rise the head on back up. And tilt your head to the left. Let your left ear come towards your left shoulder. And then let your right arm float, excuse me, out really low. So don't lift the arm up very high. Let your fingertips point down towards the floor on a diagonal line kind of here. And then flex that hand, flex that right hand. Let yourself find a little bit more there on the side of the neck. And then put your left hand on the floor and start to very slowly rise that right arm higher and higher and higher. We'll come over into side stretch, so if you want to bend that left elbow a little bit and come a little deeper into your side stretch, do. And then we'll slowly rise back up, bringing the arm down, let the head come on back up, and we're going to tilt the head the other way. So again, let yourself right ear towards your right shoulder, let the right arm drift up, left arm drift up just a little bit. And then flex your hands, see what that does to increasing a little bit of release there through the side of the neck. And then come on back now to rising that arm up. So you can bend your right elbow a little bit more to go deeper into your side stretch. Once you get your arm up and over, take your time. And then we'll rise up again, lowering that arm on down beside us here now. And flex through the feet, press into the outside edges if you're cross-legged, and come on a little bit forward here. So, you might just want to come a little bit, put your hands there to give you support. You may decide you want to walk further out, further forward. Depends on how your back feels this morning. So really take your time. You can release your head and let it hang a bit. If that bothers your back. Of course, don't do that. Keep your head more in line with your spine. Good. One more breath. And then we'll walk ourselves on back up. And we are going to switch the cross of our legs here. If you're cross-legged, switch them. If you're not, you have your legs long, that's fine. And then from here, let yourself sit up nice and tall. And we're going to twist. Inhaling here at center. And on the exhale, twisting to your right. So let your body do the twist. Don't put your hands anywhere yet. Let your hands float a little bit. So you're not using your hands to bring you around in the twist. You're actually coming into the twist with your back. And now just really naturally let the arms lower down, the hands come down, but don't force yourself around with your hands. So let the back find the twist, really. One more inhale. And as you exhale, come on back around, stop at center. Take a nice breath here, inhaling into the length of your spine. And on the exhale again, don't use your arms, but let yourself twist to the left. Let the hands be floating off the floor, right? So you're letting yourself come around, feel that twist, draw your right sitting bone down. And then again, when you let the hands come down, don't force yourself around with the hands, just let them come naturally where they want to lower down to. So it might not be where your hands usually go, right? One more breath. And as you exhale, come on back around into center again. From here, let's stretch our right leg out to the side. Now, if your knee bothers you, this left knee, you can put the foot further forward, give support. Totally up to you. If you need to stretch the leg long, do. Because all we're going to do is come a little bit forward to wake up the inner right thigh here. So take your time and let yourself just enjoy feeling that inner thigh. Feel the toes and the knee of that right foot facing up towards the ceiling. Doesn't take long to feel. A nice stretch there in the inner thigh. And one more breath. And we'll walk ourselves back up. And we're going to switch legs. So again, if this knee bothers you at all, bring the foot more forward, stretch the leg out, put a block underneath it if you need to, so that when you come forward, you don't feel any kind of stress in that right knee, okay? And we're all different, so be mindful. See, again, if you can feel the left heel on the floor, draw it back towards you and kind of press into the ball of that foot so you're engaged as you're stretching into that inner thigh. Good. One more breath here. And then we'll walk ourselves on back up. And from here, bring your hands behind you. Bring your feet to the floor. Separate your feet pretty wide. And let your knees go over to one side. Doesn't matter which side. Letting yourself just release. Press up a little into that top hip so that you feel a real openness here in the front of that hip. And then come on back to center and we'll go to the other side. So again, just kind of pressing a little more forward with your hips. Let yourself open up a little more. Good. And then we'll come on back up, stretch your legs out for a second, and then come just a little bit forward into this little bit of a wide angle. It's not really deep. Just enough to let yourself feel good. Holding if you want your shins, your ankles, or putting your hands on the floor if you'd rather. And then we'll walk back up and bring your legs on together, shake them out a little bit. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So you know, if you don't want to be on your knees, use a blanket underneath your knees. Same thing for your hands. If your hands are feeling at all iffy, your wrists, you can come on to fists. You can put a blanket underneath your edges of your hands, the heels of your hands. But take your time. Look down for a second. Let your head hang if you can. And turn your chin a little bit side to side. Just release there. Let your shoulders kind of shift a little bit too, So you're actually coming into a bit of a side stretch as you shift one shoulder back and then the other. Feel your side waist a little bit there. And then make your way on back into center, and we'll start to move through cat-cow here. So letting yourself now start to flow through. And you know, sometimes isn't it amazing how this can feel different every day, right? So if you feel any kind of little places that you need to stay and breathe, do it. Just enjoy feeling that suppleness, that easy movement. Imagine it being as natural as you can, moving through your spine here. Good. And we'll finish the one that we're on, or that we're moving into here now. And we'll come on back to more neutral spine. Let's bring our left foot forward and have our right leg back for our first lunge. So bringing that left foot forward and reaching on up into your lunge, whatever you want under your hands, blocks, floor. Take your time, draw your shoulders down. Feel the back of that right long leg there. Engage your belly a little bit. Good. And we're going to switch legs. So however you like to do that, whether you like to step forward or back. Coming on to that other side. Now, this time, when you get ready to switch, switch the way you didn't switch before. So if you step backward, step forward. If you step forward, try stepping backward to switch. Come into that lunge. Press your feet away from each other. If you feel good to put your forearm of your left arm, forearm or hand up onto your thigh, do. If not, don't do it. If it feels a little bit more in a good way, you can. And then we're going to release the switch again. So changing to the other side. Find that lunge. Feel the feet on the floor pressing gently away from each other. Again, if floating that right hand or forearm up feels really good to you, you can do that. And then let's step forward and come on into standing forward bend. And be mindful here. And use your blocks if you need them, you know that. See if you can shift onto the balls of your feet. Lift your heels up. See if they can come up quite high, actually. So that you feel the balls of the feet. You can look at your feet there. Make sure you're not rolling to the pinky toe sides of the foot. And then lower your heels down and soften your knees and lift just your toes up for a second. And then again, bring the toes down and lift the heels up and rise up again. So see if you can really look at your feet and make sure. It's real easy for that heel to shift over to the right or the left, so that you come more to the pinky toe side of the foot. So try to get even and then slowly lower the heels down, soften your knees, and just from here release into your standing forward bend. Wherever you want your hands to go, come into your breaths, feel the weight of your head. It helps to move your head around a little bit to find that, do. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips and bend our knees and rise on up to standing. We'll inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. So coming into your mountain pose here, take your time. If you need to wiggle around a little bit or shift around, by all means do. Get yourself comfortable, rooted equally through your feet there, and bringing your hands softly to meet. And shift forward and back a little bit so that you're shifting like we did towards the balls of the feet. Then shift back to your heels, and if it helps to lift your toes up when you shift to your heels, you can do that, right? And then make your way back to feeling very centered, so that you feel now the heels, the four corners of the feet into the ground. Bringing your gaze on forward and out as though you're looking out the horizon if your eyes are open or closed, either way. And then just enjoy letting the body stack itself up. The body really wants to find alignment. Once you get your pelvis aligned and get the placement of your head aligned to where it feels like your head is floating up there in the clouds. And we will unfold our arms on down beside us here now. And inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And on the exhale, bend our knees as we come forward into that standing forward bend. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back, wherever you want your hands to go. And we'll step our right foot back and come into lunge here. And inhale, exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time as you come into dog. Walk if you need to. Spread your fingers wide. Feel your elbows hugging towards each other. If you need to bend your knees in dog, you know, it's great. We need to walk. You know, if you need to move at all, do. Good. Spread your fingers wide. One more breath. And on the next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. So pressing equally into your hands. Feel that action up into your shoulders. Let yourself really enjoy finding your plank pose here. And then we're going to come down to the mat. Now you can lower your knees first, go through a half push-up or through a full. And let's slide under our forearms with our elbows underneath our shoulders into a little Sphinx pose. You know you can stay lower. You can have your elbows down more towards your waist. See if you can feel the belly gently engaging. It's not huge, a gentle engagement, so the tailbone kind of reaches down a little bit to protect your back there. Good. One more breath. And then we'll release to come on back down. We're going to make our way back into down dog, whether you come through a half or a full push-up, or just back to your hands and knees and back to your down dog. Spread those fingers wide. Feel equal to your hands on the mat there. And we'll bring the right foot forward to find lunge. And then we'll come on back into standing forward bend. Right to your breaths. Wherever your arms want to go, let them go. Let yourself start to really release through your face. Let your jaw go. And then we'll let our hands rise on up to our hips, bend our knees, and come on up to standing. Inhaling the arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's reverse the arms. Inhale the hands right up through the midline. On the exhale, open the arms like wings as we come forward. Let your next inhale help you find a nice flat back. Now once you get into that flat back, bend your knees a little bit. Press your feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat wider with your feet. Feel that engagement all the way up through the legs into your hips. And we'll step the left foot back and come into lunge. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So take your time. Again, find your dog for a couple of breaths here. And let's come out to plank and come into a little bit of a side plank. Now you can put your left knee down first if you want. Use it as a little support. Shift onto your left hand and bring your right hand up to your hip or stretch the arm up. Or you can do a full side plank if you choose. And then we'll come on back, down with that hand, come on back into your plank, and we'll do the other side. So again, right knee can come down, or you can shift into that full side plank if you choose. And then we'll make our way back into our plank pose here. Now walk a little bit in your plank. Let yourself bend one knee at a time. And then come back to your full plank. We're going to lower down. Again, knees first if you need. Elbows right by the ribs. And float your way up into a little cobra. Now once you go up a little ways, if you then want to continue by pressing into your hands, you can. Totally optional. You can stay low. Opening up through the front of the body. And now we're going to shift back towards child's pose. So bring yourself on back with your hips. Keep the arms long overhead. And then walk your hands over to the right and let yourself shift your hips a little to the left. And breathe into your left side here. And then walk back through center. Shift your hips to the right. Hands are going to walk to the left. And breathe into your right side. And walking on back into center. Let your elbows soften. Breathe into your low back. And on the next inhale, we'll come up to all fours. And we're going to curl our toes under. Come on back into downward facing dog pose. Reach back through your tailbone. Feel equal through the sides of your body. And we will bring the left foot forward from here to come into lunge. And then come on back into your standing forward bend. Now, if you can hold your elbows, do, right? So if you're able to let yourself just lightly hold on to your elbows and feel that full weight, do. If that bothers you, don't do it. Good. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips, bend our knees, and rise up to standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. We're going to move with our breath here now. Let it feel really easy. Just imagine that the breath is what's allowing you to just flow your way through these two sun salutations. So unfolding our arms down beside us, let your inhale rise your arms out and up. And let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that long back. Exhale, right foot back to lunge. And inhale, exhale into your down dog. And let your inhale carry you to plank. Your exhale will lower you down. And your inhale brings you into your cobra. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, right foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising up, arms all the way up to the top of the breath. Let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale into that long back. Exhale, left foot back to lunge. And inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let your inhale bring you to plank. And your exhale will lower you. And inhale into that cobra. Exhale back to down dog. Inhale. Exhale, left foot forward to lunge. And inhale. Exhale to your standing forward bend. Bend the knees, rising all the way up to the top again. Let your exhale bring you forward. Inhale, nice long back. We're going to come into down dog. So however you want to get there. Spread your fingers, elbows hug towards each other. Find ease in your shoulders. Remember, there's this place where your shoulders feel the best, right? Where you're not jacking your shoulders way up by your ears, but you're also not doing the opposite, right? So the happy little middle ground, nice. We're going to bring the left foot forward from here, and we're coming up for warrior two. Have your blocks handy there, and let yourself get your length established for your warrior two. So lining up the heels, and when you bend that front knee, making sure you're just the distance apart you want with your feet. You can even lift your left heel up. Make sure that left knee lines up there with the center of your foot. And then lower the heel back down. Let's bring the arms up into a wide V. So you're bringing yourself into really open here. Turn the pinkies towards each other. I mean, you can even close your eyes for a second and really feel your body in space here. And then turn the palms away from each other, and we're going to start to lower the hands and turn our gaze to look right out over the top of that left hand. Feel the feet equal in the floor. Now imagine your outer left hip dropping down so that that knee is still lined up. Good, and then we'll put our right hand on our right hip. We're going to straighten the left knee out and bring the left hand down for triangle. So you can use your hand on whatever support you want. Your leg, a block, the floor. Start to look down at your left foot for a second. Lift your toes up. Make sure you're not rolling to the outside of that foot. And then bring your toes back down and start to turn to look towards the long edge of your mat. And see if you can put your right hand on the back of your head. And let the elbow, now don't do this if it bothers your shoulder, but the elbow reach up towards the ceiling. Now lift your thighs up towards your hips. Thighs are engaging upwards, space in the knees. Feel the head gently coming into your hand. And then if you can have the arm extending straight up, do. Letting your hand come right on up into your triangle arm there. And you can turn to look up if you want, looking up towards your hand, towards the ceiling. One more breath. And then turn to look back at your left foot. And come on into lunge for a second. So release that back heel. Let yourself find your lunge. And from here we're going to walk around into a wide-legged forward bend. So if you want, if you choose to adjust, use your blocks, adjust your feet, of course, the distance apart you are. And then go ahead, as you get your feet fairly parallel, as much as your hips allow, go ahead and bend a knee at a time. Easing your way from one side to the other. Good. And then walk your hands way out in front of you, like you're doing down dog. Let your hands be a little wider apart than you are in your dog. Spread your fingers. You can look at them for a second. And then go ahead and look back behind yourself. Let your heart melt down a little bit. Feel your elbows hugging in towards each other. Feel the feet pressing gently away from each other on the mat, like you're trying to make it longer. Good, and then we'll walk our hands on back. Now you can give yourself support to stay in this pose for a few breaths. All the time, you know that. If you need to use a block under your hands or your forearms or your head, you can, if you want, bring your hands back more towards between your feet. Just get easy, really, so that it feels very natural to be in this pose. You're not struggling at all with your breath. You're just receiving those deep breaths in and out. Let go of your face, your jaw. Good. One more breath. And we're going to walk ourselves back out so we can walk back to that left foot to find lunge again. So adjust yourself on back around, and then we'll come on back into downward facing dog pose. Good. Once you're there, walk a little bit, find your dog, and then next inhale, we'll come on out to plank. And let's lower down. So again, knees first if you need, coming down to the mat. And coming on up into an up dog this time, if you can. You can stay in a little cobra, or you can press into the arms and come either to the tops of the feet on the floor with the knees off the floor, or you can curl your toes under. Either one of those is an up dog. And then we'll make our way back into downward facing dog pose. You're on your own for a little bit. If you want to do another one of those, if you feel like you want to just stay in dog, do. If you need to put your knees down and rest, do. Good. And then we'll meet back again in downward facing dog pose. And from here, we'll bring our right foot forward. We're coming up for warrior two. So again, you want your blocks handy there for your triangle if you like them. And then go ahead, take your time, get your stance established. Look down at that right knee, lift your heel up a little bit, feel that outer right hip dropping down, which lines the knee up. And then once you lower the heel, you feel really good about your legs. Rise your arms up into that wide V. Turn the pinkies towards each other. Let yourself feel like your arms are just growing out of your back and extending up through the fingertips. Now we're going to turn the palms away from each other, and as we lower the arms down, keep reaching out. So as you lower the arms down, you're still reaching equally out through both sets of fingertips. Feeling the whole body in the pose here. Imagine yourself in space, really. Good. And we're going to bring our left hand down to our hip. We're going to straighten our right leg out and bring our right hand down for triangle. So again, whether you like to use a block, either in front of or behind your leg there, look down at your right foot, lift your toes up. So you can that immediately tells you if you're rolling to the pinky toe side of your foot. And then bring the toes on back down. And start to turn to look towards the long edge of your mat. And if you can here, thighs lift up. Let your left hand, come onto the back of your head. Again, if this bothers your shoulder, don't do it. Now you can lift the elbow up a little bit towards the ceiling. You might even support your head and want to look up towards your elbow or towards the ceiling. That's up to you. Don't do it if it bothers you. And then it's up to you whether extending that top arm up comes into play there with your shoulder. The eyes are lifting up towards the hips. You're equal through the sides of the body. Beautiful. One more breath. Good. And from here, we're going to rise back to Warrior Two. Let yourself rise on back up to that Warrior Two. Pressing the feet away from each other. And now we're going to come down and find lunge again for a second. Let yourself come back to releasing that left heel directly behind you. And then we'll walk around into that wide-legged forward bend. Now, once you start to walk around, you get your feet set, keep walking over to your left. So you're going over towards your left foot. Doesn't matter how far you go. You can just shift the blocks a little if you want. Once you get over to the left where you want to be, bring your left hand on up to your left hip. You can roll the shoulder up a little if you want. And then bring that hand back down. We're going to shift back through center and head to the right. Only as far as you want to go, right? And once you get to the right hand comes up to the hip. If you want to add that little twist, you draw the shoulder up towards the ceiling. And then we'll bring the hand on back down. We're going to walk on back into center. Turn your toes out just a little bit and bend your knees, but keep your hands either on blocks or the floor, okay, in front of you. So your back is long, but you're bending your knees out over the center of your feet. So it's like a squat, but with a long back here. Yeah. Good. And then come on back up, turn the toes back forward so you're more parallel, and ease your way into, again, where you can be with your breath easily. Feel really effortless, right? You can let go of the upper body. Enjoy the breath. Good. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll walk our hands back out because we're walking back to that right foot. Come on back into lunge. And we'll make our way back to down dog. From here, next inhale, come out to your plank. If you want to move through to an up dog, do. Otherwise, just stay in plank and then come back into dog again. Let's do that again. Inhale out to your plank. If you want to move through to the back bend, do. Coming back to dog again. We're going to do one more. Inhaling out to plank again. Moving through if you want for a back bend. And then coming on back into downward facing dog pose. Walk your dog a little bit. And then from here, we're going to bring our left foot forward and come up for a warrior one. So take your time. Get that back foot adjusted. Have your blocks handy there. Back foot adjusted to that little bit of a 20, 30 degree turnout. Bring your right hand onto where your fingers can just touch your hip pointer bone here. just so you're kind of aware of where it is. So the shoulders are around, right? And this hip pointer bone might come around a bit, but it might also be open a bit, depending on how you're built. So don't force anything. Do draw your right shoulder forward, though, so your shoulders are square to the front of your mat. And then bring your hands right in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And we're going to rise the hands up a little bit higher than the head. Once they get up above your head, clasp your hands, send your pointer finger out. Hug your elbows in a little towards your face. And then see if you can rise your elbows up a little bit. Now keep the belly working. If it bothers your back, come back to look forward. And let the elbows come down again. Some of you may want to extend into longer arms here. Whether the arms are forward or more with your upper arms by your ears, it depends on your shoulders. Good. One more breath here. Really feel that openness in the front of the right hip. And then coming back to look front, bring your hands right back down to in front of your chest. And now lean forward a little bit. So you have a nice long back. You feel a little extra going on in your quad. If you can feel that engagement a little deeper in that left quad. And then bring your hands down. We're going to find lunge, release that right heel directly back, and now walk your hands to the inside of your left foot. So you might want blocks, you might not. Let your left toes turn out a little bit towards that left front corner of your mat. And come on into a pretty low lunge if you can. Now you know you might even want to go down to your forearms on your blocks or even lower. Don't force anything. Good. Now we're going to lower that back knee down. Sometimes it's better to come up before you put the knee down to the floor. That is up to you. And put a blanket under your knee if you need it. Press into the top of the foot. And here again, you may want to go lower. I mean, it actually, if you like the floor, go for the floor. Sometimes stacking the blocks up, just getting out of your hands helps. So just press into the top of the toes. Enjoy. Watch your breath now, in and out. Good, and now we're going to come up enough to walk our hands on either side of that front foot. So adjust that front foot now to where you're right back in a lunge with the knee down. And then shift your hips back and extend your torso forward over that long left leg. So just be mindful. If it's too much, come up higher on your blocks. Good. If you want to slide that heel a little more forward and go a little towards a split, you're more than welcome to. You've got the support of your blocks. So if it feels good to add a little bit more towards a split there, do, but don't force it. And then we're going to bring that left knee on back, both knees on the ground. Come on into child's pose for a breath. Let your hands reach forward, arms be long. Elbows hug towards each other. And then we'll come on up so we can come back into downward facing dog pose. Once you're in dog, let your next inhale bring you to plank. Again, you can stay in plank or you can move into that up dog if you choose. And then we'll come on back into down dog. We're going to do it again. Inhaling out to plank, maybe through to your up dog, and then back to down dog. One more time. Come on out. Again, you can add the back bend or not. And then releasing on back. Walk a little bit if you need. We are going to bring the right foot forward. And we're going to come into warrior one on this other side. So again, as you start to rise up, take your time. So you get that back foot just the way you want it. Again, if you can put your left hand, just so you feel that hip pointer bone where it is, right? So some people it opens a little, but you don't want your shoulder to draw back. You want your shoulder to be forward, and the hip pointer bone might come around a little further, but you want to be okay in that back foot. All right, so you got to decide how much you like that turned out, how long and how wide your stance is. And then bring your hands to your heart. And I have to say, for me, it felt a long time for Warrior One to feel comfortable. I mean, I just always felt like it didn't feel quite right for a very long time, and then all of a sudden, now it's like one of my favorite poses. So, inhale your hands up over your head, clasp them together, send your pointer finger out, hug your elbows in, and then see if you can rise the elbows up a little bit, maybe even bringing your gaze up too. Now, if this bothers your back, don't do it. And if you want to extend your arms long, you do. You can take your time. You don't have to extend those arms long, and you certainly can bring the arms forward instead of back by your ears. But enjoy. Feel that huge opening in the front of your left hip. One more breath. And then look forward again. Bring your hands right back down to in front of your chest. Feel your hands connected there. And we're going to lean forward a little bit. Nice long back here. It's like your whole back body becomes one long diagonal line. So you're not breaking the line by leaning forward here with your body, but you're all of that one long line. Good. And then we're going to bring our hands down and find lunge. You might want your blocks, releasing that heel directly behind. We're going to walk our blocks to the inside. Now we're going to keep the knee up at first, but you still might want to grab your blanket if you use it and put it there for when we're ready to lower the knee down. And then again, you might want to keep yourself up on your hands, or you might want to come down with your hands on the forearms on the blocks of the floor in this lunge to get a little deeper. Good. Now remember to lower that knee down. You got to put your hands, if you want to come up higher before you lower it down, do. And then press into the top of those left toes and come down wherever you want. Stack your blocks up if you'd rather. Go lower if you'd rather. Remember, just be mindful of how it feels in your hips and your knees. Press gently into the top of the left toe. Good. Well, one more breath here, really letting yourself enjoy. And then when you come up, use your blocks if you want, so you can walk them to either side of that front foot. And now from here, straightening that front leg out. And if you have your hands out there on blocks or the floor, you can just extend forward over that front leg, finding your hamstring there. And breathe. Good, nice. Again, you can stay right here and be really happy. But if you want to come a little deeper into a split, you can just send your right heel forward and let yourself come a little more into a split if you want. Not necessary. Come down, we're going to come back into child's pose. So let yourself relieve. Once you're in child's pose, if you can, bend your elbows and put your hands up on your low back or maybe at the back of your neck. And just release there. Breathe into your low back. Good. And then stretch your arms back long. We're going to come on back up to all fours. And come on back into downward facing dog pose. And just for fun, if you can, do 3 more of those kriyas. Inhale out to your plank, move through if you want to up dog. Come on back to down dog. Do it again. Inhale out to the plank, stay if you want, or move through to your up dog. And back to down dog. And then one more time. Out to the plank, moving through to the back bend, and back again. Good. Walk your feet a little wider on your mat. Bend your knees. Walk your hands back. Now you can stay elbows above your knees and be perfectly happy right here. Or if you want to go ahead and send your hands through between your feet and wrap your hands around the outside of your ankles, you can. And you can also bend your knees real deeply and squat down if you want. So you find what works for you. Don't do anything that makes your knees and hips feel, or back feel bad, right? Good. We're going to rise it back up from there. Get our hands forward so we can walk our feet right underneath us. Get your feet distance apart, parallel. And then we'll bend our knees, pressing our feet. We're going to rise on up standing. And inhale our arms all the way out and up. And let our exhale bring our hands down together in front of our hearts. Finding that light floating sensation there in your head. Feel the heads floating up there in the clouds, and you are very grounded through your feet. If you're swaying around a little bit, that's great. It's fine. Let the body kind of find its way. You might feel your heart beating. Watch your breath. And then we'll go ahead and release our arms on down. Shake out a little bit. Walk around if you need to. Yeah. So we are going to drag our mats to the wall. So bringing your mat all the way into a wall. And grab your blocks. Actually, let me move right in because I don't want to go on there. So grab your blocks and turn your left shoulder towards the wall. And have your blocks in front of you. All right? And you can decide as we go along the steps of this one how far you want to go. Okay? So crossing your right ankle above your left knee. And figure 4, bend your left knee a little bit, shift your hips back a little bit. If you can bring your hands to your heart and balance briefly there, do. If you need the wall, do it. You know, if it feels like too much, it's actually a harder balance than an eagle pose, because your legs aren't together, right? And then see if you can come down with your hands to the blocks. Now, if that doesn't work for you, sometimes just straightening the left leg out and coming forward works. If you keep the left knee bent, you get a little deeper into that right hip. Right? And some of you might even want to go lower on the blocks and wrap your right foot around the outside of your left arm there. And push your toes, your toenails really, into your arm. And that is a deep engagement. One more breath here. And now, we're going to start to uncross that right leg, send your right knee straight down, and extend the leg long behind you, like you're doing half moon. But lift the leg higher and higher. So way higher than when you're doing half moon. Oh, too bad everybody doesn't have a pole. The pole is right. So you're kind of in an upside down split, right? Imagine. Doesn't mean you really are, right? You can, if you want, you can even put your hands lower, hold on to the back of your left leg with your left hand and pull yourself into your leg. And then we're going to release. Bring that leg down, bring your feet underneath you, and we'll bend our knees and rise on up to standing. Shake out a little bit. We're going to turn around and do the other side. Makes me want to go to the other side of that pole, man. That's handy. So having something to put your leg on back there helps. All right, so here we are. Blocks in front of us. Standing on our right leg and crossing our left ankle above or below the knee, depending on your hip. So it's the outside leg that you're crossing, left ankle. And then bend the knee and take your time. So you may want to balance a little bit if you can try. You can let yourself think of balancing here or not, depending on your balance day going on. And then when you're ready, bring your hands down to those blocks, any height you want to be, right? If you need to straighten that right leg out a little bit to do this, do, because that keeps your back long, right? And if you bend the knee, you still have a long back, but man, it's a lot deeper in that left hip. So everybody's different. You just be where you can. Keep flexing. Now again, if you like to bring your arms back and wrap your left toes around the upper right arm, you can press your toenails into that arm. And that's a really deep hip engagement there. Now from here, we're going to let ourselves release to turn the left knee right down to the floor and then extend the leg long and open the hip like you're doing half moon. And again, take your time. Maybe you can walk yourself closer towards your leg, holding on to that supporting leg. Be where you can, don't force it. Take your time. Good. Nice. And then when you're ready, let that leg come on down. Bend your knees, get your feet under you. We'll rise on up to standing and walk around a little bit, shake out. Stretch out your quads a little bit maybe too, okay? But we are going to come down onto the floor with our feet back towards the wall behind us. So let yourself come on down. If you're able to, I mean, you can grab a block if you need it. If you're able to bring your big toes together and let your heels separate like you're sitting in a bowl, do that. If that bothers you, grab a block and sit up on a block or two. So your toes are touching the wall. And if you can, see if you can let the back of your head kind of release into the wall. So that's a little back bend right there. Pretty easy, nice back bend actually. See if you can just let your chest naturally open. Breathe from the belly into the ribs up into your chest. And then let's come forward and up onto our knees. Now, if being on your knees here means you'd rather have a blanket underneath your knees, do. And let's just put our hands right here up onto our hips. At first, let your thumbs just kind of hook around right here on your low back, right? And wrap your fingers around a little bit. And then as you start to hug your elbows backward a little bit, bring your gaze on up into a little camel pose. Feel that openness. Now, we really got into right here, the front of the hips, right? So I'm hoping this makes this feel a lot better. One more breath. And then come back with your head forward. Bring your chin down towards your chest. Now, those of you who are real natural posers in camel where it feels really good to you, you want to go the full pose, go right ahead. But another thing that you can do is shift yourself back at first to put your head on the wall and then reach your hands to the wall and then shift your hips forward. So, you know, if that helps you a little bit to go a little deeper, do. If you're like, absolutely not, I'm not doing that, don't do it, right? Because camel pose, man, it is, you don't want to compress your low back. It's very hard pose, right? The lift is more at the base of your shoulder blades, but it's very, very hard not to involve your low back, and you don't want to do anything that hurts, right? So take your time. You can go back to the hands being on the back. You can even turn your fingertips down on your back like that and kind of press into the buttocks and down a little bit, and that usually helps too. The neck is usually the culprit though. So coming on down, let yourself release. Come to your forearms right now and let your tailbone reach back towards the wall. And then set up a little bit for dolphin here. So adjusting where you think you want to be to lift up with your heels on the wall into your dolphin pose. And that should feel like a pretty big relief after that camel, right? So, you know, if you're like, I'm not in the right place, come down, readjust. Of course, the walking of a leg or legs up the wall is totally up to you. Be where you can. Remember, you don't want your head on the floor, pressing into your forearms, hugging your elbows a little towards each other. Very nice. Good. We're going to release on down. We're going to come around to the sitting. Once you've rested for a breath or two in your child's pose, we'll release to bring our legs on around to sitting and stretch them on out in front of us. Now, we're going to do a little either half cow face or cow face. So if you want to sit up on a blanket, do. That can be helpful in cow face, or half. So let's all, at first, cross our left leg on top. So if you need to do figure 4, do figure 4. If you can go a little more over for the knees to be closer together, or even stack the knees up, you can always send that right leg a little more to the midline, right? Now, if you're like very comfortable in half cow face, and you feel like you want to just shift and fold that bottom leg up under you into full cow face, you can. And if not, stay in your half, right? So that you feel really good. Because, and this is the hardest part of this pose, is adding the arms, right? So here we are, we got our legs set, half or full. We're gonna bring our right arm out and up over the top, and then we'll bend the elbow without looking down, keeping our gaze really forward, and bringing our left hand behind us. So you can decide if you wanna bring your hands towards each other, or if you just wanna keep that bottom arm low, right? Just lengthen up through the top of your head. Good. Now this is even harder, but if you can come forward a little bit with your arms here, more power to you. It's pretty intense, especially if your hands are very close together, but let it feel good. If you're in your full cow face, press the outside edges of your feet down towards the ground a little bit. And then we'll rise on back up, and we're going to lower our arms on down beside us. And move through your wrists a little bit. Shake your hands out a little bit. And we are going to switch legs. So leaning on back and bringing your legs on out. Take your time. So this time it'll be the right leg on top. And unless you did the other leg on top last time. and then again, if you don't want to fold this bottom leg under, remember, to be in full cow face, you don't want to be floating up so that you're lopsided. You want to have both your sits bones down. And that's why a blanket can be really helpful too. So take your time, sit up nice and tall. Something I love to do in cow face is bring my hands to my feet just to feel that connection there. And again, try to press gently, if you're in your full, outside edges of your feet into the ground. And now left arm's going to come out and up overhead, and we're going to bend that elbow. And again, bringing the right hand behind you, bringing your gaze forward as you can. And if you decide to send your hands closer together, do. And just enjoy. Lengthening up to the back of your throat, your back of your neck. Good. Now coming forward from here again, be really mindful. If it hurts your shoulder, don't do it. So if it bothers your shoulder to come forward from here, don't do it. And then we'll rise on back up from there and let your arms come on down. And again, move through your hands, shake them out a little bit. Lean back and stretch your legs out. Reach your legs so that the heels come towards the corners of your mat, the front corners of your mat. And then just come a little forward from there. You can decide whether you want to reach for your toes. Maybe if you're coming forward and it feels great, you come forward from your low back and you just feel like, oh my gosh, I just want to round a little bit there at the end, then do it. But don't do it if it bothers your back. Good, everybody's coming forward from their low back, and just let it feel great, like a relief. Good, and then we'll rise on back up and bring our legs together, shake out. We're gonna come down onto our backs on the floor, but before you go down, have your blocks handy, so you can just reach over and get them. And let yourself come on down. Bring your knees into your chest once you get down there so you let your back release. Take your time. Good. And then let's bring our feet to the floor. And just enjoy here. Feel your feet on the floor. Ready for your bridge pose. But do a couple of little pelvic tilts before rise into bridge. So let your exhales, your tailbone barely curl up, your low back melt into the floor. And then when you inhale, send the tailbone back to neutral, and so the low back comes back to its natural curve. So just come through 2 or 3 of those. Let them be really low and deep, so you're not, you're not rolling up through your spine at all. It's really just a pelvic tilt. Good. And then release back to neutral. And from here, see if you can bring a block underneath your supported bridge. Even if you don't usually do supported bridge. If it's really uncomfortable, obviously don't do it. If you can't be there on the block, do it. And let your right leg in. Come along on the floor. Let yourself bring that right in your hip, but point your toes up towards the ceiling and your knee up towards the ceiling. And if that doesn't feel so good, sometimes pressing into the left foot helps. The bottom of the left foot's on the floor, you can just press into it. And then we're going to bring that right foot back in and stretch the left leg long. So feeling that ease, it's a supported opening for the front of your left hip. You can press again into that right foot a little bit if something feels a little quirky, right? Now it is up to you. You can come back to feet on the floor, or if you want to try both legs at the same time, you can. Totally up to you, whether you want to do both legs or not. And then we'll bring the feet back to the floor again. And let's bring the arms alongside the body. Now you can bend your elbows and do your robot arms if that feels better to you, or you keep your arms long. And we're going to see if we can just press into our feet and lift up off that block. So totally up to you. If you're like, no, I don't want to go any higher, then don't. If you prefer to come down and kind of play a little bit with moving up and down from bridge, or if you want to shift to come down to a higher height on a block or two, you're more than welcome to do that. So let it be just a minute or so of playing around here, how you'd like. If you'd rather come down and come into a full upward facing bow pose as well, that is an option. If you want to come down and put your hands on the floor above your shoulders and lift up into that back bend, you are more than welcome to. Take your time. You don't have to wait for me. When you're ready to come down from your bridge, make your way down, bring your knees into your chest. And then pick your favorite twist. It might be something as simple as, bringing one knee in and across the midline. Might be that you feel like you would rather do both knees side to side. You might want to stretch your leg long and come across the midline of your body. There are all kinds of twists to do that you all are quite familiar with. And maybe your body is insisting that you want to do something else. So by all means, if that is the case, anything that sounds good, by all means, let yourself go there. So that when you do start to get ready for Shavasana, you feel comfortable. And I'd love to bring you anything. Those of you here at the studio, if a bolster, blanket, anything at all sounds good, just wave at me. Allow yourself now to enjoy feeling the ground supporting you. Really letting yourself accept your breaths in and out. And if your mind is the busy mind this morning, see if you can just softly keep refocusing back to your breath, so that you give your body and your brain a little time to find those quiet places. And let yourself completely and fully relax.